Hi, everybody. I wanted to invite you to our interview today with Laura Eisenhower. She is such a wonderful woman. I love to talk to her. She does so many great things in the world. And you guys, I wanted to share just a little bit about her. I'm pretty sure most of you know who she is, but just in case you don't, well, first of all, Laura has been talking for years and years and years. I don't know how many years, but I know it's over 10. She's been a public speaker, and she has been trying to share with everyone the truth of what's been really hidden in our society that's maybe kept us in bondage and in lies and not really allowed us to live as a free human being, even though we may think we are. And so she's been excellent at showing people what is behind all of this. She's also the great granddaughter. Is it great granddaughter? One great of President Dwight Eisenhower. And so she knows enormous amount about the political background, and what, the CIA and government in general is doing behind the scenes. And her grandfather did quite a bit to try to bring that out, but it just wasn't probably time in his era to go too deep in it, because I don't think anybody wanted to hear it at that time. But we're really glad to have you today, Laura, and to share some of your just insights of what's going on in the world, and maybe how we can handle it without being traumatized and have too much stress.
I know. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's always amazing to have you on my channel and show, and it's amazing what you're doing, the book you've written, and all that you're exposing, and your courage. And yeah, so it's awesome to be with you again.
Well, Laura, do you feel that, you know what's going on in the world? But a lot of people don't connect the dots. And if you were to really try to help a lot of the people that we'll be sending this out to, they know a little, but I don't think they know a lot. So that's kind of, what I wanted to do today, was maybe kind of connect the dots and give some hope and maybe some positive ideas on how to handle, the war and food shortage possibilities, and, all the different stuff with the vaccines, and just being traumatized in general, and financially and every other way. So
I know. Well, I think the best thing to do is be prepared. And I think that level of security takes a bit of the fear away, kind of the triggers of the fight or flight, or going into survival, or facing challenges that we're not prepared for when they actually hit. Some people look down on prepping, like we're feeding the fear. Everything should be fine. But the way I kind of cope is to kind of prep without overly doing it. Just if you have at least a couple of weeks or a month's worth of food, or even longer, or you create a garden or find some way to have a bit of a food source, that's helpful. And some people aren't in that position or haven't done that, and that's okay. No reason to go into fear. We're all on our different paths, experiencing things on a unique level for our own soul growth. Any kind of adversity or looming threat can do one of two things. It can bring us closer to ourselves and connected more to our greater abilities, or it can throw us into a lower vibration of compliancy to authority, out of feeling the fear and disconnect from intuition and higher guidance. And that's what adversity can also do. So we're always reacting, and even to illness or physical symptoms. And it can either help us to grow and get closer to ourselves and activate what's been dormant, or it can cause us to give our power away, hoping somebody else solves it for us. And that would be the perspective to avoid. So when I talk about prepping, I mean, like, we have chickens, so the chickens make eggs, so that's helpful. And I do as much as I can to provide products that can help people in these times. Like, if you go to my website and look under products, you'll see my Patriot Supply, where you can store food for months at a time for a pretty decent cost. Nice. And you can just have a bunch of those boxes in your basement, and that can last you a couple months. And that's really easy versus going to the grocery store, going to Costco, having to stand in line and dealing with the competition over food shortages. So Mike Adams as well sells these boxes filled with rations and supplies of food that is easily stored, and it's really not that expensive. So that's a good start if people haven't already been saving food, is to get something like that. And the food is really decent. It's got a lot of nutritional content. If you have, more than an acre or a small enough yard, just looking into just getting, chickens is helpful if you, like eggs, because the animals, um, can provide that emergency food. And just, yeah, growing herbs, growing a garden. You can go to a local nursery and just have the plants that have already grown, and you just put it in the ground if you're not into planting the seeds. And yeah, just making sure you just have a sense of security. We make sure that we have like guard dogs, Anatolian shepherds, but that can be a lot for people. But we're also we're protected with, I hope it's okay to say that we have just we're supplied with weapons for our defense if somebody comes knocking on our door. And you also have to drop the fear of death, because we've died so many times, and to live our life in fear of death is going to rob us from our capacity to hear our higher guidance. Because again, any vibration of fear or the fight or flight or going into survival puts us in our lower chakra. We can't access our higher guidance, which helps us to manifest synchronicities and sort of be in the right place at the right time, because we're feeling the warnings, and we're able to alert ourselves and not put ourselves in harm's way. But when we can't think and we're in survival, we're so scattered that we're more just answering to whatever's in front of us without maybe it coming from our wisdom body, which might mean we put ourselves in a bit of danger and we lose a sense of protection. We're always protected. We always have the resource of God, goddess, and the earth energies. And we just have to really stay in alignment and have a sense of humor, and just know that a lot of this is bullying. A lot of these tactics are based in fear, so that we either consent or we lose our ground. And as long as we can stay aligned, I feel like the universe really supports us. Cosmic and natural law really support us. God's source and our connection with that manifests miracles, and it keeps sort of the predators and the dangerous energies sort of at a distance. But sometimes we have to face them and go through them to become the override frequency. I mean, your path is an incredible example. You went through abuses and horrific just torture and trauma, and here you are, one of the lightest one of the highest vibrational beings of light that I've ever met. And so just following guidance like somebody like you, I think, is really helpful. Like reading, your book, to really just know, like, wow, look at what we can overcome if we are face to face with it. But I feel that you getting over it has shielded you and protected you from being kind of brought back in, because you have such a deep connection with your higher mind and with God's source. And I think everybody can cultivate that and gain a lot of inspiration from, your journey. And to a certain degree, my journey as well, getting out of the Mars recruitment and facing that tyrannical authority and just saying, I don't consent. I'm not going to go into fear, and being able to get out of it and protect my children. To their surprise, they didn't expect me to be able to do that. So I hope that's helpful.
No, that's excellent, because I think fear is what controls all of us. And that's what they do. Every single thing and tactic that they're doing right now is to keep us in fear, because they know we can't function when we're in fear. So I really like that. And the other thing I really think people need to be aware of is, no matter what we are going through, we all can get through it, because we are really strong human beings. And I was talking to one of my clients that has a similar history, and he was just saying, it's just unbelievable that we can get through these things. And so I want people to know there's so much more to your soul and your humanity that they don't ever want you to find out. And that's really what this whole thing is about, is to keep us under some kind of fake reality that we're weak and we need to be told what to do. So I think that's about the vaccines. I think that's about the masks. I think it's about every single thing they've tried to do and are trying to do right now. Is they need to keep us in this little cage. That's what I feel like they're trying to do, is keep us in a little prison. But
right. And I think the greatest weapon is the mind control and the social engineering, because I feel once we break that, we can process, assimilate, transmute, and alchemize these dark weapons, whatever toxins or poisons are in our body. I feel like once we reach that vibration of freedom from the mind control, and we step into our higher mind, there's all sorts of things we can do to recover from some of these choices a person might have made. There's no doom or gloom at the end of the day if you did decide to get the jab. We've all been exposed to chemtrails. We're all exposed to dark weapons. We're all exposed to things that can really compromise us. But once we break free of the mind control part of it, I think we're in a greater frequency, a love frequency, a unity consciousness frequency. We're not in the divide and conquer where, it's the jabbed against the unjabbed, where all the judgments and division and separation take place. I feel like once we master that, all these weapons and all the stuff that we might have put into our bodies that we've been exposed with GMOs and just poisoned food and water. I mean, I feel like we can overcome that. I feel like the people that are the most danger of these weapons really working are the ones that are buying into the propaganda and the false narratives and the divide and conquer and the fear, because that frequency doesn't allow the body to become spiritualized or to overcome this stuff. Because once we reach those higher frequencies, that's why I love the show Ripley's Believe It or Not. I'm like, how are they eating light bulbs and not like cutting their insides? The whole mind over matter is a form of self-mastery that I feel is our challenge and growth period as a humanity, to face it head on, not fall for the different social engineering tactics. And then I feel jabbed or unjabbed, being spike proteined or exposed to all this kind of stuff isn't going to have an impact so much, because we become the override frequency that I feel is that miracle vibration that can overcome this as well.
And I think you live your life like that. I think you do. And you really do have a lot of interviews with a lot of people that are speaking about the same thing. And, you have had a lot of interviews in your life. So, what have you guys been talking about in the last maybe couple months of just about what's going on? And because I know everybody kind of throws around ideas of how to keep the vibration high and maybe be aware. And one of your interviews I just caught, I don't think it's very old, is you were with about 5 other people and you guys started talking about memories. And I think it's interesting that a lot of people are starting to have memories come up that they've had suppressed. And it can be about anything, but they've suppressed a lot. And now all of a sudden, people are starting to wake up at levels I don't think ever has happened before, ever.
Yeah. So memories like past life memories or childhood memories?
Childhood, yeah, like childhood memories, like they suppress, a lot of people that have mind history is definitely memories coming up. But I think it's just people in general who have had suppressed memories of abuse of any kind. They're starting to wake up for some reason. Like there's just something lifting where it's okay to finally tell, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. What's interesting is the 13th sign of Fiacus, which connects with the mother energy and the ether element out of all the astrological signs. I mean, we have earth, air, fire, water, but now with the presence of ether, it's helping to turn the inversion of the pentagram around out of this sort of satanic inverted, like ritual abuse behind the scenes and what we see when the infiltration of most corporations and power structures, that there is a correction that's been taking place on a cosmic and earthly level. And proof of that is the Venus transits that form a perfect pentagram in the sky and create the correction of turning it upright. So the ether energy is able to infuse the elements of the earth, air, fire, water, which represents the other 4 points on the star, is able to create purification and sort of lifting us out of the inversion so that we can actually purify and heal. And Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, is ruled by Chiron, the wounded healer, which means that for us to really receive the healing, we have to face these memories. We have to face the trauma, because the wounded healer is all about facing childhood wounds, so that instead of acting out or being in the shame. Oh, shoot.
You okay?
Yeah, I might need some water.
Okay.
Uh-oh. You talk. Hold on.
Okay. Well, so some of the things that I've been discovering, you guys, lately is I can't even tell you that I don't know that I've ever had so many in the last month, especially. I've had so many people call me that they feel something's happened. They're having kind of memories come up. And what we've been finding is we'll start to do some work and we are finding what happened to them. And you know what I love is that it can be done so easily without re-traumatizing anyone, that you can go back and find what you're holding. And I wanted to share something. I've had this question asked to me many, many times, is it really necessary to know, what happened? Do we have to really go back and get those memories? And this girl, she was giving a testimony of her life. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so perfect. So I'd like to share it. She said, you have to know what happened to you, because if you do not know what happened to you, in this case, it was people that had, severe, heavy history, then they can always use that against you. And they don't have the right to steal your memories. It's your life, and you have every right to know what happened in your life. And I really believe it's a true principle. I don't think you can heal if you don't look at your life the way it truly was. I was one that literally, Laura, you would be shocked at what I would say. It was a long time. I had the most wonderful, fantastic family ever. Oh, I never was abused. I never had any of this until I started recovering my memories. And then it was like, oh my gosh, all hell broke loose. So the thing is if I would have never looked at my truth, then I could never heal, and I can never become who I believe I was supposed to become, because I would be locked in a fake reality that I created for myself. So I think to be truthful with ourselves, I think we're in a time that it's time to be truthful about what's happening, not only in our own lives, but what's happening around us. I feel like when the enemy is at our door, like it is right now, we have to be aware of what's happening, because you can't protect your family. And so many people, even to this very moment, do not even understand what's happening right now. We have an invasion of millions coming over from every country possible through the US border. Okay, that could be dangerous in itself, but people do not know that they're trying to bring in the New World Order and what that entails. They don't even understand what that entails. And yet I literally heard somebody say that is all crap. And I'm like, okay, part of their agenda, which they wrote out, by the way, is to have food shortages. 12 plants in the last month were bombed, food plants, if you don't believe they're trying to create a food shortage. They also don't want you to be able to drive a car, and they don't want you to buy a house. What's happening right now? The interest rates have gone so high. The gas is so high. This is all planned as part of their New World Order agenda. So, we have to wake up and be aware that we have enemies. I want us to always have a way to stay high vibration, but we also have to be truthful with our reality. And our reality is we have some very dangerous stuff going on, and we are in a war. And if you want to protect your kids, which they're coming after, you got to wake up. And so
sorry, everybody.
You okay now?
Yeah, I think maybe some dust in the air. I don't know. Absolutely. I mean, we don't have to completely relive all the traumas, but we have to understand them, because the whole idea of psyops and and just false flags is really feeding on their understanding of human psychology and the traumas of the past, in our past lives, in wartime. We're still in a war. The Second World War wasn't won, and it came in and infiltrated pretty much every power structure in the world. And now we're dealing with a lot of countries in agreement to a possible pandemic treaty, which means we have to have some kind of digital card and prove our health status and possible forced vaccines, which means that all our democracies are completely stripped pretty much all over the world. And not everybody's going to stand for it. But if we don't acknowledge this, if we're just in denial or saying, oh, that can never happen, that's the same kind of denial that we can face in an abusive relationship, where, you're dealing with an abuser or a narcissist, and you keep making excuses. You don't know how to break up. You don't know how to leave. You're not willing to look at the red flags, even though the signs are all there, whether it's direct abuse or being done in a betraying way behind your back. We wouldn't want to stay in that toxic relationship just as much as we don't want a toxic relationship with the governments and the system, where people aren't willing to look at these deeper layers. All the information is out there. Books have been written, like yours, Kathy O'Brien's, whistleblowers have spoken, and people are just wanting to put blinders on. They're not seeing the red flags. They're not seeing the betrayal. They're not seeing the abuses they've endured. And those are usually the people that are also blocking the childhood memories, perhaps. And being able to face it means that you're not acting out, you're not in the shame, blame, victim game, and you're not allowing the psychological operations or the social engineering agendas, get the best of you, because you're a lot more clear. And the more we know, the better. But yeah, there's a fine line between actually reliving it and just understanding, because that to me is what turns a light onto our unconscious self, which is multidimensional when we shine light on it. And we have more access to the rest of who we are. And we're able to acknowledge the triggers. We're able to clear them. We're able to be honest about them when they might come up in friendships or relationships. We can be more accountable and say, wow, I'm totally hearing this in a negative light because it reminds me of when my father used to yell at me or treat me in this way, or maybe something one experienced just in their earlier years. You know, the more we can acknowledge this, the less we're going to be combative and drama and conflict with each other, because everybody is in that level of humility of being willing to take on the healing journey instead of just functioning on autopilot, where all these subconscious things are controlling us in our personalities more than we can imagine, because we're shaping our personality around hiding this stuff or hiding what is coming into plain sight in the here and now, which is where I think people are very vulnerable to buying into these movements. They're targeting people that care about the environment, but all of us care about the environment. Doesn't mean we're going to fall for the climate change agenda, because all these false solutions that make it look like they're trying to create a better world or protect us are absolutely taking us into greater enslavement and absolutely a part of the New World Order, and how they've masterfully shifted their disguises, you know, where it's different than Nazi Germany. Now it's through a completely different disguise, which fools people into thinking like, oh, those wars are over. No, this is about climate change. This is about Black Lives Matter. This is about protecting us, and everybody should be jabbed. And they don't realize how much they're being played because they're afraid to dig deeper. And that's the most important start and step is, again, like you said, is to begin to look at our childhood wounds, because once we step into the truth frequency, we're able to see through the lies and have greater discernment in the world.
Well, you know, some people don't understand this, but if you have childhood wounds that aren't healed, they will play out in every relationship you have, whether you like it or not, because there'll be a younger age of you that you and your husband could be fighting, or you and your partner, and all of a sudden you start, oh my gosh, you're acting like my dad. And all of a sudden you're not even the adult woman anymore. You are the little girl that used to really get scared of her dad. And the fight no longer is an adult to an adult. You have now went into a child part fighting with an adult, because this child is reminded of daddy behavior. So if you don't heal that, you're always going to react in a way that doesn't even have anything to do with the fight that you're having with your spouse or your partner, whoever, daughter, children, anything, you know. So it will play out no matter what. And I can't tell you how many times in my early life, my husband and I would fight. It was like two little kids coming together, and we're always fighting. It's like, why are we fighting? Because none of it makes sense at all. And it was just two little wounded kids getting together and fighting, not two adults. So.
Oh, I know. That's happened quite a bit. Yeah, in my relationship experience. But the minute one can kind of stop themselves and acknowledge it, you know, it's huge. And again, those kind of adversities, we can get more bonded and closer to our partners. Or if one isn't willing to really look at this, or ancestral patterns or societal programmings that make it difficult to have a harmonious relationship, it can, you know, totally grow apart. But when two people are on board, I feel like that's the prerequisite for really creating sacred union. Moving through those difficult layers, maybe in the beginning of the relationship, with as much spiritual maturity, humility, and compassion as possible, because we're bound to run into that. And to me, that is an important foundation of coming together in union. It's not just going to be about passion, chemistry, and the magic we experienced in the beginning. We have to be willing to walk through these fires together, because they are very initiatory, helps us to find our sovereignty, but also be, you know, connected in a hierogamic type of union eventually, as we move into the greater alchemy that this polarity integration within ourselves and with each other, you know, can accomplish. And to me, this is what helps us to upgrade our DNA. When we do this within ourselves and in partnership, we can really support one another. And I think everything's breathing down our neck and pushing us to the edge in these times, to remember what this priority is right now, to be able to move to the next level and get out of this danger zone. And one has to wonder, you know, if you are awakened, are you at the mercy of those that aren't awakened, to the point where their consent to these dark agendas are going to impact all of us? You know, it's affecting all of our ability to travel and fly, because, you know, but at the same time, we're not in the same vibration. So I think, you know, there are going to be ways to maybe get our own private plane or get a tour bus and work our way around all of this. Because, all the resources are available. We have access to our creative imagination and our ability to manifest and pool our resources together, so that we're not victimized or having to live a lesser life because of what others are choosing to consent to. And maybe that's a form of bifurcation, even though they want to take our land and say, you'll be happy and own nothing. I think people will really come together in community, and maybe some of these people that used to serve and know how to be in sort of combat and be guardians and protectors of a particular area can act as the security guards to not allow anybody in or anybody taking away our rights. And so it's going to involve a lot of people putting heads together with, cops, doctors, and teachers that don't want to comply, that don't want to go along with the narrative. But as we know, there are many cops, teachers, and doctors that are very complicit and very much a part of this dark agenda, because like you said, it's right under our nose. And even people that are in our everyday society that are upstanding citizens that seem benevolent, not all of them are. So we have to find the ones that are and pull our skills and abilities together to create sort of a matrix-free lifestyle while figuring out a way to guard and protect ourselves. I mean, it's going to take a lot of this sort of effort, instead of just being at the mercy of all this and hoping it doesn't get worse. Let's be proactive and figure out a way to work with people in our local community, or maybe even move to a new location if necessary. If you're really in a place that is closing the walls on you and you feel like there's no other way to go, make sure to reach out and put yourself on social media and say, this is what I'm looking for. These are what my needs are. And you'll be surprised, how many people are building this and looking, people are, getting lots of land and a lot of buildings and structures on that land to create intentional communities that will figure out a way to protect themselves from any land loss. That's just what we're going to have to do, because if we don't engage our creative energy with solutions, it's going to be very, very difficult to just hope to wish all this away. We have to engage our creative energy and also starve the parasite and starve the beast once and for all, just like we have to break up with a partner that's abusive and we have to cut the cords so that we can move on and find true love. If we don't cut the cords and we keep just staying, in the love and lighted away without taking some kind of action, I think that puts us in a vulnerable place. Just like if we hold on to that partner, we never let go of them or repeat the patterns with a new partner. If we haven't fully cut the cords and grow from where we've made mistakes, where we've given our power away, where we've lacked self-worth or false light ego, if we don't learn from this, we're going to keep looping in these destructive patterns, whether it's with humans, partners, friends, or governments and outer authority. Because really, all of this it wouldn't have any power unless it was feeding on us and we were giving it that power, because it's parasitic. It's lost its connection to source, right? So,
well, I was wanting to go back to this a little bit where I really feel like this time is actually giving tons of people opportunities to find out what they have inside of them of maybe new things that they can do. Like I heard an independent journalist say, what, I was born for this time and I would have never done this if this has not happened. And so I think we're all finding maybe that there's more that God has for us to do in the crisis.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I mean, listen, you guys, you have to realize never in history have we had a time where all this information has been brought out worldwide. And we have so much truth. Never has this happened. So I have to believe that it's coming out because we're supposed to do something about it and not stay in the reality we've been living.
I think it's going to be really hard for them to succeed in this because the amount of truth and just the changes that are happening on a cosmic and earthly level. I mean, they can throw the threats out there all they want in hopes that people will shudder in fear and give their power away and consent. But I think the numbers of those that have awoken to the truth are far greater, and it's going to flip everything. I think it's already flipping everything. And I think they're just spewing out all these narratives or possibilities more as like a bully threatening. And we can stand up in the face of it and keep accessing those inner resources and what God really has brought us to this world during these times to discover. The inner treasures that we can illuminate that will allow us to move beyond this lower dimension where they can't reach us anymore because they don't have access. Even though there's dark entities that can exist in higher dimensional energies. It doesn't matter because we have to move through those gateways and remove those frequency fences. And sometimes it means we have to face the gatekeeper. But let's, learn how to be spiritual athletes and jump over these hurdles and knock down those barriers instead of hit our head on the wall and turn the other way and cower in fear and feel defeated, or just completely unconscious and not aware of, the initiations that we have to tackle. And these are powerful initiations that also represent our overcoming of the programmings within and our own negative ego and our own unconscious barriers. We have to look at it almost like it's catalyzing a greater growth. It doesn't mean that their crimes and their evils are okay, but we can leverage it in our favor if we can find the right perspective.
I agree. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. So when you start to obey, you need to, I want to like to bring out who you're obeying, because these people literally worship Lucifer. That's who they worship. Most of us worship God. They worship Lucifer, and every single decision they make and every single thing they tell you to do in government is Lucifer based.
Something about that real quick, but finish your thought.
No, that's all I wanted to say. So whenever you want to just obey blindly, I just want you to know you're obeying blindly Luciferians.
Right.
And that's a fact, because all those people, I have personal experience with a great many that are running these things in the government right now. And I can tell you personally that they are involved with Satan worship and ritual abuse and sexual slaves that they have for themselves. And a lot of these are just out there running the world, and that's what they do in their private time. So I just want you guys to know that if you feel like you just need to obey, that's who you're obeying.
Yeah, right. I mean, authority can have a place, when we're raised by our parents, but it should be authority that helps to guide us and help us to be the best of ourselves. But then there's tyrannical authority and control that is suppressive and limits us. And that's really how they feed. They disempower, they make us smaller, and they create these psychological operations and scenarios that make us think that they're looking out for us when they really are creating the problem reaction solution, so that people are easily fooled and thinking that they actually care. And I'm surprised so many people think they still do or actually ever did. And a lot of people, that were in the 60s movements or deadheads, I'm surprised they're all falling for this government authority. I'm like, I thought you guys were anti-establishment. I'm like so surprised that a lot of these bands and concerts require a vaccination. I'm like, wow, I never would have expected with some of these people and some of the energy workers. And I don't want to say that in judgment, but so I was going to just ask you, because somebody posted recently, I don't want to name names, but she's somebody who's been through some of these programs. She's like, oh, Lucifer is not the evil one. Lucifer is a being of light. He's a fallen angel, but he's really bringing, light to the earth, and he represents Venus. And I know the Venus archetype's connected with Lucifer, but also with Christ and also Sophia. Venus has, to me, an alchemical quality to where we can redeem the fallen Lucifer within ourselves if we ever bought into the system. But it is a false light and it is dark. So I just get really worried when people like say, oh no, Lucifer is good, but Satan and the devil are the bad ones. But it's just like, they do worship Lucifer. Lucifer is a false light entity. And so for people that are saying Lucifer is positive, that seem to be awakened or seem to think that he's the light bringer, maybe he used to be, but that changed, right? I mean,
I'm going to make this very clear. And this is not up for Laura's opinion. This is just the facts. Bottom line, Lucifer is as evil as they get.
Well, I hope you don't think that I was saying I thought he was positive. I'm just saying.
No. Yeah. But Lucifer you cannot convert Lucifer or his angels. Anybody that is been programmed under mind control that has to have the Illuminati programming, satanic programming, the witchcraft programming, they're all the same. And let me just tell you, Laura, since I've talked to you, I'm almost done with my second book. God has been good to me and shown me so much. Like, it'll blow everybody away, but you know what? That you have to know it, because if you don't know it, if you have the history that I do, you won't get free. And I didn't understand. I didn't. When I wrote my first book, it was literally 101. And God has shown me so much, you guys. And the bottom line is, you cannot you cannot convert Lucifer or his fallen angels. It's done. It's a done deal. They made their choice a long time ago. You can't do that here. So don't try, because the one that's going to go down is you. The one that will be converted is you, and it won't be to your light. You'll be converted to their darkness.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I never thought Lucifer. I mean, in my book, I go into, the Luciferian rebellions, how it relates to dark technology, how it relates to the Illuminati and the Cabal. I never for a moment thought Lucifer was a positive entity. The only reason I brought it back to the self is because instead of assuming that the Lucifer energy is positive or complying to a cabal that worships it, even though it might not outwardly say it, even though it's hidden in plain sight and it's damn obvious to those who have eyes to see. The only thing I meant was that archetype that people are unconsciously following or supporting can be redeemed through ourself when we come into that Christ Sophia divine template and we create that alchemy to rise like a phoenix out of the ashes, to break any contract or agreement with that false light or Luciferian energy, whether conscious or unconscious, to redeem that force within ourselves. But doesn't mean you redeem it outside yourself. It doesn't mean that you can redeem or save the Luciferian energy or the fallen angels. It means you can cut yourself off and transform beyond it, but you have to be hyper aware of it, because it's in the music industries, it's in politics, it's in government. And when we're talking about the things that like somebody like you went through and so many others, we're talking like horrific abuses against children, the most evil. I mean, this is why they want transhumanism, and they want to keep their life cycle alive with technology and artificial intelligence, because they have no ability to go through the death process of purification, because they did make that choice a long time ago. So I've never, ever felt the Luciferian energy was positive. I just read that from somebody that I was surprised was saying that.
I literally I've heard a couple of people literally say that, I think you can convert Lucifer and the fallen angels, like you can change them. And I'm like, no, sorry, never happening. No. That's not even up for debate.
You can change your relationship with it within yourself. You have control over yourself.
That you can.
And that's all that I've ever said but that has nothing to do with the external. It just means that you've broken the chains, you've broken any kind of contract or agreement, or where there might have been I think if a person sells their soul, they bought into the fallen angelics, I think they can call their soul back, which is very different than being a fallen angel or the Luciferian.
Yeah, for sure. You can always I think that's what part of what we're going through is about, is setting people free that have been under bondage. When we're talking about me and my history, we're talking millions of people all over the world. This isn't just a few people. So you guys have to realize we're talking millions and millions and millions of people have this. And if they get their way, they would do it to every single person. That's kind of their agenda with the New World Order. So I think we are supposed to come to every single person being aware of what has been going on to hurt so many people, and especially children. That's their number one. They do two things, and it's because God said, don't do these two things. And that's their number two things they do. So everything that this whole kingdom is about defying and rebelling against God, everything. And Laura, I'm telling you some information. It almost makes me want to cry. Is some information I found, just like I was writing, couldn't get past this one place, I was like, God, I'm really stuck. He showed me some stuff. I found like enormous amount of information. It was like the mother lode of information. That's what I found. And when I went through it, it literally has taken me a few months to like, oh my gosh, this is even deeper to a degree I can't even explain to you guys. And I don't think anybody needs to fully understand that except people who have been through it. The depths of hell and darkness that they literally literally make somebody go through. Like it would blow your mind. Like I thought I understood it fully until I found this information, and it's even 100 layers even deeper than that. And I'm just like,
where did you find this? And can you just tell us a little more? Or?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it, because I'm not quite ready to share all that. But
maybe like when you're ready, I'll interview you in a future show too.
Yeah, because I'm actually almost done with the book. But I just want you guys to know that we're fighting some very deep, dark stuff, and it's going to take all of us to say no, because if we become awake, they can't do it. See, that's the thing. Their secrets are their power, and they're coming after your children. They put these people that follow Lucifer are the teachers. They are your nursery leaders, your, your whatever. They're in every way they can to take and indoctrinate the kids so they can do their stuff. And I'll give you a short story if you guys think this is crazy. I had a client a couple years ago, and he went to a nursery. It was a nursery center because his mom worked. He went there for 2 years. He had to go there every day. His family, no history of SRA. But in the nursery for 2 years, they had enough, they put in him of this stuff that they could continue to access him as a 30-year-old. And he was 2 and 3. And I'm going to tell you one other story. So there was a person that he went to the hospital, okay? And this was a long time ago. And the hospital, they wouldn't at that time, let the parents stay with the baby, this child. In the middle of the night, the child was taken down at the bottom of a hospital. And in the hospital, they traumatized them in a satanic ritual way so that they could leave like an opening, so to speak, in this person's soul. So later on, the person would be found by somebody and can be accessed. So you don't know, you think this is for other people. It didn't happen to you. They're doing it to so many people. You have no idea. If they can get a hold of your child, even for a short period, they can damage, they can access. It's weird for people that may not understand this, but they create a kind of a hole in your soul that they can get into later. And it's all spiritual darkness, but they're doing it. And it's just unbelievable. And that's why I'm trying my hardest to wake everybody up, because this isn't just people like me that this is happening to.
It's unbelievable what you're doing. And it's just so incredible. I always want to just stay connected and do regular interviews. And I just pray to God that, people take this more seriously. I mean, I just feel like these are the videos that should be going viral. I know it's really hard for people to stomach, but it's going to be a lot more difficult to stomach what you don't realize has happened to your child or what's happened to you if you don't wake up to it and protect yourself and your children, and figure out ways to work with people that have nothing to do with this. It's not safe to go to hospitals. These are death camps now. The amount of doctors that are complying to these dark agendas might be the same ones that are taking your children after birth and taking them down into some underground thing and doing exactly what you said. It's really not safe. I mean, some people have a good experience. Maybe they have a good doctor. And it's scary because then you're like, okay, well, who's going to help me? Okay, maybe in the case of emergency or a broken limb or a broken arm, sure. And I know if there's a heart attack or stroke, you might need to go to the ER, this or that, but you have to live a preventative life. There are ways to avoid your blood getting clotted. You can take nattokinase, you can take pine bark, and there are all sorts of things that you can do, turmeric and other herbs that if you continually take, green foods, that'll purify your system constantly. And you take this on an everyday basis, and it barely costs anything to get these supplements. You will keep your bloodstream strong and safe, and constantly just free of, forming clots and also removing a lot of the heavy metals. You have to just get on these kind of protocols in these times to avoid having to go to the hospital for any reason. Communities really need to come together, homeschooling. The more people that are awake, the more people are going to be proactive because they're going to have that instinct of wanting to protect their kid. But as long as they push that information away because they think it's only a few like yourself, or just, you don't want it to hit home for you to take it seriously. You want to be on guard right here, right now. And I just wish these kind of videos would go viral. And I hope your book reaches a ton of people, and I'll do everything I can to help promote it. And I'll include these titles in my book as well, just, to draw attention as much as I can.
Tell us about your book.
Oh, gosh. Well, I've got a lot of presentations I have to do for the events I'm doing this year, but I'm almost done. And it talks a lot about the larger picture stuff, but it goes into my own personal story, my relationship with Eisenhower, the truth I was able to unveil about what really took place in his administration, and a lot of stuff about what these times are about, a lot about the origins in our galactic history and about just the SRA and dark technologies, and also our greater potential on a DNA level. So I kind of weave in and out of my own personal story and larger picture stuff, and just, yeah, some crazy stories along the way. And it's kind of chock full of so much stuff. And I hope it's done soon. I've been working on it for a really long time, and it's been really, really difficult to finish. It got hijacked along the way. I lost about 250 pages.
Oh
But
no.
it's about to be done. I think it'll be published by the end of this year or beginning of next year.
Nice.
So I just really pray that I can finish it up. But like, you were saying about your first book, I'm really struggling with more the organization. It's all there. Now it's just a matter of organizing it. But I have a good feeling. I got a lot done yesterday. So
Good. Awesome. Yeah, it's kind of the project when you start writing, I think. And then also a lot of stuff starts coming up, or at
oh, I
least for
know.
me.
I know, me too. I can't imagine the process. It's been so difficult. Like, I'll just hit these emotions or even resistance. Like, I don't want to go there. I don't really, not that I am afraid of these memories, because of course that doesn't serve one, but to bring words and life to it. When I feel like I've moved on from the past, but I'm like, no, this is really important to bring to the surface regardless. So yeah, it's been very therapeutic too in a lot of ways. So
Yeah, it definitely, at least for me, it definitely is, but it's also been, this second book's been the hardest one for me. It stirred up so much crap. But anyway, I am very grateful for the experience, and I'm trying to do it. I feel pushed fast to just do it. And I'm like, well, it's gonna take a while. So anyway, but I'm almost done. It's just now I need to find a new editor. And anyway, all those little fun things I have to find,
yeah,
So
it'll all fall into place. I know it. You're
it
so
will. I'm trusting one step at a time here.
yeah, and yeah.
Well, Laura, I am very grateful that you have did the interview today, and I just wanted to ask you if there's anything you feel people need to know really about what's happening that you just want them that could help them or just be aware of.
Yeah. Well, trust yourself, trust the greater forces of, God source, goddess, the earth. Really just make sure to stay in alignment with it, because the minute you really just get too plugged into news, whether even if it's alternative news, because sometimes it's on the other extreme,
Mhm.
still kind of creating that division or maybe judgment, not all of it. Just be very discerning about what you allow into your space every day, and what it might do to your mind or your perception, but also stay informed as well, so that you kind of know what's happening. But really just stay in alignment, connect with nature. Animals are the most healing thing. Whether it's just having a cat or having a few animals on a small farm like I was able to do, which has totally just been so healing, because we lost the mother goat. And so I became the mother of 3 baby goats, bottle feeding. And they're just like my children. They're so amazing and been so healing to my heart. And, sometimes that's not easy, but it might be easier than you think, because, I don't have a lot of resources. You just need a little bit of land. And anyway, just stay connected with, the earth and God source, and really bring life to it through words, through writing, because it's going to strengthen the relationship, because that dialogue is going to be a lot more felt in your heart and in your soul. And you'll feel that communication, that reassurance, and that support. You'll notice more synchronicities and more miracles, and more strength in the face of adversity and challenge, to really rise up to the occasion. And just be very careful of anything that drops your energy, and allow awareness and discernment to not get the best of you, and let it be like, a tool that you carry with you, like, and also transmute the weapons. Remind it that it's, you can use it as a tool for your higher growth, instead of looking as a weapon and being victimized by it. When I look at the chemtrails, I say, thank you for reminding me of my power, and that we are more powerful. The power of the human spirit is more powerful than you. Thank you for reminding me. You are no longer a weapon. You're a reminder for my greater
I
growth.
like that.
And when I hold that perception, I don't feel like, under attack or victimized. I feel like I can shift my perspective and de-weaponize it in my mind.
I like that a lot. And that is an interesting word that you use, because I still haven't fully figured out. I would actually got to go on that fun trip, and those are the last fun trips I got to go to since all this stuff. But I was in Rarotonga, and I was writing, and God showed me that I need to understand more fully about looking at something is what's the weapon in this? Like to ask what's the weapon in this. And it's interesting that you said that because I'm not fully figured out what that means. I like that though, because you kind of explained that in some ways, really.
Well, it's sort of like with people too. It's like if somebody's attacking me or challenging me, instead of kind of dropping my vibration or attacking back, sometimes I have a few words, but it's more coming from, if I know it's not a troll, I just try and like say, okay, I might, kind of act supportive, maybe get a little fiery and tough lovish, but I try not to drop my energy. And it's just like whatever's trying to stop us, we can see as a reminder of who we truly are and how powerful we are, because then it's no longer a threat or a weapon. And I think our minds are so powerful that, if we can stay out of that mindset, but recognize the weapon, we can then have mastery over it, taking from us, siphoning from us, threatening us or victimizing us. And we can adopt a higher perspective about it to the point where it doesn't penetrate, it can't really hurt us. So that's kind of, but I have to remind myself constantly. It's not like, oh, I do it like every second. I'm like, oh, okay, remember to do that. Because sometimes it's easy to kind of get bummed out or feel brought down or exhausted. And I just try and remind myself as a daily sort of practice.
Well, and I love how you work with the animals. I really love just being outside. There's a whole bunch of mountains here, and I just feel so good when I go in the mountains.
Nature surrounds us, whether you have animals or not. There are birds and flowers and mountains and river. I mean, when I didn't have any animals, I never felt lacking because of all the nature, like you said. So,
and just find what makes you feel happy and just do it, get out in it. It amazes me how I'll be stuck in the house because I'm like doing all this writing or I'm seeing clients on the computer. So I'm in the house all the time, and just being outside in the sun is so healing. It's like I can literally just feel my body change. It's just, I can feel it. And so sun is a big thing for me. I need sun and I need nature.
I find myself talking to the sun a lot, or, just in these moments where, I don't know, sometimes I just feel it beaming on me and I feel this communication. And one time I was just holding this crystal by the window and I closed my eyes and this dance of light and these codes coming through and this greater communication was so beautiful. And it's just always a great reminder to know that, God breathes through the elements, through nature, through the sun, through plants and animals, and the breath of life is all around us. That's why they want to cut that off and mask us and censor us, so we don't take that deep breath, when really that really it sustains us and rebuilds and regenerates our life force. And they want to separate us from that. They want to separate us from all this. And so let's not buy into it, and let's remember truth. And truth has to do with the activations and upgrades that nature is providing, as it is an ascension planet, and it's moving out of the geoengineering. It's finding its power again to break down these dark weapons and to neutralize these dark weapons, so it can be the elemental energies and raise these elemental kingdoms to knock out this stuff, and not have the geoengineering or the reversal grids impacted anymore. So we're right there with Mother Earth, and she is so ready, and she has been. So let's walk with her and God. And I think we'll just be fine.
I do too. And just to let you know really quickly, because I just saw this report that a lot of people that wear the masks a lot, they're finding that the mask fibers have migrated to their lungs. And so, it's not safe to do it. But anyway, that's off the thing. Thank you so much, Laura.
Oh, thank you so much as well. And to anybody who is dealing with lung stuff, check out my subscriptions. I do have a big knowledge base in herbs. I've got every herb under the sun for respiratory. Mullein is a really good herb to clear the lungs. Just know that our power of healing is huge, and nature provides all the resources of medicines that can help us to overcome pretty much everything and anything. So don't lose any hope if you find yourself, oh my God, I got the jab, or I did wear a mask, and just know that everything that we're talking about, there are remedies and amazing things that you can take to get your health back.
Okay, so where do they find you at?
CosmicGaia.org. I'm upgrading my subscription, so there's only one subscription, and I'll send out a newsletter, and I'll make it pretty obvious on my Telegram channel. But sign up for my Telegram channel. It's on my homepage of CosmicGaia.org. That way you can hear all the updates without having to be a subscriber.
Nice. So is there anywhere else that they need to find you, or is those the work? And I know you have a YouTube channel too.
Yeah, and Facebook, but hopefully I can keep those without any censorship. But yeah, cosmicguide.org, and find my Telegram channel. That's probably the safest place to keep up with me. But check out the other channels, and YouTube is still active. Hopefully it'll stay active.
All right. Well, thanks again. And I'll talk to you soon. Take
Thank
care.
you so much. Okay, we're hanging for a second, right?
Yeah. I'll
Okay.
turn